What is up, guys? This is Max Cuff 4, and today we're going to be looking at a late war tier list. This is going to be oriented towards PvP, but this can also apply to skirmishes that you guys might be doing with these doctrines that are stated below. We're going to be going with the Soviets first, so with further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Alright, so starting off, we're going to go into all-round. So this is the first doctrine we'll be looking at. Soviet all-rounds. First off, let's see what we got. So we got the BA-20 command vehicle. Not too impressive, but it can reduce your CP. You get the T60, which gives you quite a bit of firepower, but you're kind of in a little bit of a glass cannon, and the T70 plus some infantry. Now this one is probably the best choice because you have a light tank that can kill other light tanks and doesn't have the worst armor for your first tier units. Both these two units are going to be the first two. It gives you decent power spikes, nothing special though. And these things, I mean, they're both good. This one's kind of meh, but it definitely can help you out, and it can help you push on to points. Second one, you're moving on to, you have the KV-85, which is kind of indifferent about it because it's a T-34-85 turret, but it's got better hull armor at a cost of its mobility, really. And then you have the artillery signaler, which is always going to be good for pushing off heavily for 4 to 5 points, or if you're fighting in thicker stuff like urban stuff. And the BM-8-24, which is a bunch of light rockets on a T60 chassis. Not the best armor, can be taken out relatively easily, but it's got a good spread if you have bunched up infantry in the open that you want to wipe out really quick. So it's got kind of an okay roster on the second one, and then the third one's where it really gets its power spike. You have the ISU 152, the IS2. Both of these are going to can be game changers if you manage to bring them out and not get taken out yourself by a King Tiger or a Yag Tiger. The 122 can be useful for team games if you're facing a lot of enemy defensive emplacements and you think it'd be better to use that. But overall, I think it's going to usually go from T70 down to KV-85 or artillery signaler, and then moving into one of these heavier vehicles. But let's go ahead and take a look at their infantry. So far, they're kind of meh all around. They got everything you need, but it's like nothing really stands out that's insane about it. All right, so you have your basic rifle squad that's cheap. As you can see, it gets a little bit more progression. You get a little bit more stuff. The first and second are pretty much the same, and the third one you just get some semi-automatic rifle, so you pay more for it. The second one that you get is SMG squads, which these are always nice to have on maps. It's only 112 and 106. As you can see, they switch out SMGs a little bit, but these can be good because you can easily get a firepower onto the points. You have a cheap sapper squad with the flamethrower for only 130. That's pretty nice. You got some guards that are actually really cheap, on almost a little bit under 100, and then you have your elite guards, which are like 130, 140, 140. Assault engineers and flamer engineers. These are going to be expensive squads, but these guys are going to be able to dig in for you later in the game and once you've secured something. And this one's having light anti-tank. So these are all decent squads, especially SMGs will help you in like little urban areas. Sapper squad's pretty nice because it's cheap flamethrower that you can get up there, and then some elite squads to move on as it is. Easy to start with 2 squads on this one. Soviets in general just easily start with them. But overall, I'm not going to say this is anything super special. All around is just going to be, let's get copy, paste. Alright guys, so like we said, all around it's pretty decent, but it's nothing that stands out that's like great. The units are not bad, they're not good, and it's nothing special. So I'm just going to put it like right here in the middle. It's going to be in B tier for Soviets. It's not a bad doctrine, but definitely it's definitely not nothing that stands out is like great. So next thing we're gonna move into is defensive. All right, let's take a look here. We have motorized sappers, so you can dig in pretty quick. 37mm anti-air and a 76mm anti-tank gun. None of these are really going to help you push up. These guys can help you. These are all going to be able to help you dig in. This AT gun's not going to be super great. I mean, it should be able to take out most tier 1 vehicles, but doesn't have the longest range, and it can help you kill infantry too, but it's nothing special that it can really push with. 37mm, same thing, high fire support, high rate of fire. It's going to be able to take out some light tanks and vehicles, but it's not going to be, I mean, you're either going to have to push it up or tow it up in a truck, and it's not really something that you can be aggressive with. And motorized sappers is just some sappers coming up. It's good to play to dig in, but like nothing to advance. Same thing with this whole second line. You get some artillery. You get 85mm, which is actually really good if you get in a good position, especially on open maps. and especially on team games, but nothing to push with. Got the 120, which is going to give you good fire support, but again, this is all defensive. Looking at the bottom, we have the 152 and a 203. These are big ass artillery pieces, going to be able to nuke your enemy's forces and defensive positions. However, it's nothing big bang bang. However, the SU-100 is going to be where it really stands out. This can take out pretty much every anti-axis vehicle pretty easily. So this thing's a beast, but it takes 3 to get to it, so it's going to bring this defensive doctrine down a little bit. But now let's look into their infantry. Excuse me. Look at defensive infantry. All right, looking at their infantry, they have conscript squad, which is only 68 manpower. Really nice for just filling in the gaps. Recon squad is a small squad that you can run up to points with. It can help in the early game on securing points. The rifle squads are just your typical rifle squad. It's nothing bad. It's got an MG. It's got one SMG and some rifles. Eventually, it will get semi-automatic, the last one. Nothing special though. Sapper squads. These guys can help you dig in a little bit. AT rifle squads. You can bring these out if you think your your opponent's gonna have light vehicle rush or something like that. And then your marine rifle squads are pretty powerful squads with their semi-automatic rifles. Some guard squads, elite with anti-tank and assault engineers to help you dig in once again. These squads are not bad at all, and you have the cheap filler squad, so it's nice, but nothing of this is really gonna stand out. You guys good late tier infantry all right here. You got good tier, like you got basic squads, and you got your cheap rifle squad. Conscript rifle squad cannon fodder. Not bad, but like nothing really stands out with this, and there's not really any pushing power. So defensive, let's go ahead and get this one. This one is actually going to be going to C tier. Could possibly be leaning towards D tier, but it is going to be going C tier for the Soviets. The SU-100 is really much the saving grace because that thing is going to be scary for any axis that makes it to that late game. But that's hoping that you make it to that late game, because if they haven't pushed you off the point yet. So let's go on to the next one. Next one's going to be Irregular. Irregular is a pretty amazing doctrine. First, we have the Dishka. Double Dishka, I believe. Not going to really want to use this. Heavy Scout Recon. This is the huge thing that stands out. So this thing, you can sneak bazookas around. Super hard to detect. And these squads in general can just get around and hide pretty easily. Pretty OP squads, the Regulars are. You have M72 with snipers. Nothing too crazy here. It's a bike with a sniper. I'd much rather have the OP hidden squad. Next, you have bomb strike. You have a T-34-57, which is excellent anti-tank unit. Good for taking out enemy tanks. OT-34, T-34-76 with the flamethrower in the hull, which is pretty awesome as well. You have the good old IL-2 heavy airstrike, a larger bomb. ZIS-6 rocket launchers, so these are going to be a little bit bigger. And then you have the nuke ones, which are way bigger, but this is one that's like has to be pushed around, so you don't. It's kind of inconvenient, but it can nuke an area. And then the biggest one is ICU-122. This thing's gonna be able to take out pretty much any enemy tanks, like the ICU-100 or the SU-100 you saw in the last one. Once again, it's going to be able to challenge most Axis heavy tanks. Great tank destroyer and great for killing infantry at long range as well. Overall, this doctrine only lacks in the beginning. It has this awesome heavy scout squad, which is great for sneaky operations and hard for the enemy to detect. You can bring it in multiple times as well. But this first line, as you can see, doesn't have anything that you can really call in to give you a bump in the beginning. And 1 versus 1s, this could be an S tier doctrine, but I don't think it's as good in team games, because you're not gonna have that push. Like, they're gonna have a light vehicle. You're gonna have this. It's like they're gonna have an advantage for a little bit until you can get those sneaky boys into their positions. All right, moving on to the infantry. Infantry that really makes this doctrine shine. Partisans, as you can see, they have lots of different variants. Only 100 manpower. They have SMG. They have a rifle. They're pretty much like a nice budget rifle squad, and they get better and better as they go. Not the best for assaulting, that's why they see the defensive on them, but they are actually very excellent at holding ground. There's SMG squad. You have a recon squad as well that you can push up to take ground. and and you have your basic rifle squad. You got 3 really cheap squads here. You have anti-tank rifle squad that's expensive, guards rifle that's pretty expensive, an elite guards rifle, and mountain cavalry. So you have some good late tier infantry if you want to something that's a little bit more health and can hold ground a little bit better, and a ton of light infantry that are super cheap. So regular is a really good doctrine. There's not many flaws in this one. Let's go ahead and get this one up to A tier. For 1 versus 1, I can see this being S tier, but for we're doing PvP in general, including all game modes. So this is definitely going to be A tier. Definitely one of my favorites to use for sure. Let's move on to the next Soviet. Next to the Soviets ones, Lend-Lease. All right, so Lend-Lease. Let's go ahead and open this, and you'll see they have you have a Marine squad coming in, a scout squad with I believe a 50 or a 30. I don't remember exactly, but don't really care because I've got a Stuart or a Valentine. Now these both are actually pretty good first units. Stuart having a lot of machine guns on it. It's a pretty light tank, but it's got a lot of machine guns and a decent little gun. And the Valentine's actually got decent armor for first coming out tank. I think it's might only be second to the Panzer III that comes out, but that one's a flamethrower. And this tank is performs pretty well. Its speed isn't the best, but it's overall it's not bad. These two give you good options for your first unit and a nice little power spike. Next units you have is the Shermans, M4A2. Nothing special here. Churchill plus Valentine. It's okay. They're both kind of slow tanks. It can be nice to give you just some more tanks in general, and then the 107 millimeter, which can be good for taking out tanks and as an artillery piece as well. It's just nothing super special about the second one. That's what kind of falls off. Like you're gonna be getting tanks that can take out both of these tanks, and you're gonna be facing anti-tank destroyers that can, tank destroyers that can just kill these pretty easily. Then moving on to your last one, you have the Studebaker. This is a nuke wagon with short range nuke wagon, but you can nuke areas. 100 millimeter. This thing can be pretty damn good. And then the 276s, which are good, but you have to consider the Axe is going to be getting King Tigers, Yag Panthers, and Tigers. So this is really these two are gonna struggle more, and then this one's gonna be your only way to really kill them at range. So this doctrine can struggle a little bit. The later you go on, it starts off pretty good, and then as you go on, it gets a little bit worse. We'll move into the infantry. As we saw before, we have the cheap filler squad conscripts. We have recon squad, which can be really good. Can be really good for moving up to take positions at the very beginning. You have a basic rifle squad. You have SMG squad, once again, good for taking in those buildings. Anti-tank rifle squad. Cavalry squad, actually, which is a decent little squad that has more health. You have your guards cavalry, and then you have mountains cavalry. So these last guys will be able to help you in the medium range and overwhelming your opponents if they're just using basic infantry. But a lot of decent cheap infantry. And then SMG. You got good options. It's just nothing that stands out. So for Lend-Lease, we're just going to be putting that. Let's get a copy of that. That Lend-Lease is just going to be landing right there beside all around in the B tier. Not a bad doctrine, but nothing really stands out about it. All right, now we're moving on to sports. Arguably the best doctrine that they have. Definitely on comparison with Irregular. I'll show you guys why. So first off, you have the good old political officer. This guy can call in ammo. It's just an officer. I don't know why you really wasted on this because it's just an officer that can call in ammo packets. Nothing too special. Or you get a BT-7A or a T-50. Both of these are going to give you a decent power spike. This one's going to be good at killing infantry, and this one's going to be a little better at killing light vehicles. But both of them are very good at killing things, and they'll be able to give you a little bit of a power spike, especially if you can get this BT-7A on a hill or something. Manage to do that on farmstead or farmland, and kills a ton of infantry. You get a really cheap recon plane, so you can just scout out, see what your enemy's doing. Nice little thing. Su-85 is always good. It's a good tank destroyer for the second tier. Can take out pretty much almost all tanks until you get to the extremely heavy tanks. And then the freaking awesome thing about this doctrine is you get double T-34s. So you get T-30-85 that's grilled, has nice armor, and then you get T-34-85 that has a whole amount of flamethrower. So this is probably the thing that makes this Doctrine so awesome is that you get two T-34s for the price of one. And both these tanks are going to be very good. They can take out most vehicles um, until you get to the like heavier tank destroyers and heavy tanks. But for tier 2, they're really good, especially the flamethrower and then just having regular T-34. They can just provide support for each other, and it can overwhelm your opponent so easily, especially if you start shooting at one T-34 and another one flanks them. It's just awesome having two T-34s. Then lastly, you have Katusha, which is really good for taking out enemy positions that they're dug into. IS-2, which is just, it's an IS-2, it's pretty awesome. And then you have the 280mm in case you want to use that against enemy defensive positions. Alright, let's go ahead and check their infantry out. First off, you have another recon squad, good for taking the early positions. Your basic rifle squad, you have a heavy rifle squad, so this guy initially is going to come out there with a lot of machine guns. It's gonna have more. I believe it has two machine guns. Then it's gonna get semi-automatic rifles and then more SMGs. Actually, there's only two variants. Then there's SMG squad and heavy SMG squads. These guys can be really good for securing urban areas. And then you have your guards rifle squad, guards SMG squad, and elite guard squads. You have a lot of choices here for an assault engineers to even dig in if you want to. So there's a lot of options. There's cheap infantry, there's SMG infantry, there's elite infantry down here, and then there's even engineers that come in that can help you dig in. So I think this doctrine really has it all. It's definitely my favorite doctrine that's on the Soviet side, and we're going to go ahead and give this one the S tier. I know a lot of you guys might not agree with me here and think that the regular should be up here and this should be down there, but keep in mind this is my own personal opinion, so I'm going to be going with my own personal opinion. If you guys have something different, be sure to comment below so other people can see it and you can disagree with me and say how much you hate my opinion. Alright, moving on to Americans. So let's go ahead and look at USA doctrines. Let's move up to the first one. Alrighty. USA. Alright, one of the best infantry factions and but the least amount of infantry faction. Alright, so starting off doctrine, you have the M16, which is a quad 50, which is pretty fucking amazing if you can get it out there and not getting killed. The big issue with this is it's going to be able to get killed by a lot of the... It's going to be vulnerable to enemy tier 1 units. It's going to be able to get taken out. So you just got to be careful with this, like a glass cannon or 4 glass cannons. But they can be really awesome. They just shred infantry in the open, so it's awesome. Mortar carrier is going to have a 50 and it's going to have the mortar, so it's mobile mortar. It's pretty nice, but why use that when you have a 50? And then you have the 75mm, which can be a nice little indirect weapon that you use early on. Not bad, but probably outclassed by the mobile vehicles. Second tier, you have the 105 Sherman, which is pretty awesome. This thing has heat rounds, can take out most tanks that it will counter at that time. 155mm artillery signaler and the 105mm priest. All these options are pretty good. It's not bad at all for the Americans, of course, but nothing great, of course. Moving on to the last one, this is really, it's going to be where they shine. It's got 240mm artillery, some serious artillery. If the enemy needs to be pushed off a point, this will definitely fucking kill all their positions. Pretty amazing. You got the M26 Pershing, which is a good good heavy tank in the end. You can challenge the Tigers and the heavier Axis units. Then you have the 155mm gun carriage, which is just a mobile 155, which is pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the infantry. Alright, so you have your military police squad, which is going to be spammed out at the beginning. That's just how it works. You have your jeeps that you can spam out as well if you just want to use these to try to get to points quick. Rifle squad coming in at 203, and then going up to 250 eventually with the bazooka. First division, Big Red 1. These guys are going to be your tier 3 infantry. They're pretty good health, and they got a decent amount of weapons. Then you have your ranger squads coming at tier 4. Ranger Assault coming with a 30 cal machine gun, and then Ranger Special Weapons coming with bazookas, and they also have a mortar team. So they got good late game infantry. Just your military police squad, which is spammable, and rifle squads. Overall, not a bad doctrine. Nothing super great, and really lacks in the early. So that is going to earn it a place in good old all round. Where is it going to go? It's going to go in B tier as well. I don't think it really deserves the Doesn't deserve the A tier, so we're going to put it, here in the B tier. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, next one's going to be looking at is defensive. We have this Studebaker that comes in with engineers. You have a 40 millimeter Bofors. You have a 75 millimeter gun carriage on the half track. None of these really stick out to me as something that you can really use that great. It's pretty similar to the Soviet ones. You just have engineers, you have a AA gun, and then you have a mobile 75, which can be good, but it's like if you get unlucky, an enemy somehow manages to flank you with the light tank, this thing's gonna get obliterated because it's light armor. It's a really glass cannon. Moving on to your second tier, you have a nice mortar, 4-inch mortar. It's a large mortar. It's gonna be able to do some serious indirect fire. 90 millimeter is gonna be able to take out most Axis heavy tanks, which is really nice. But once again, it has to get set up, and then the 105 millimeter, good for indirect fire, and might be able to take out some tanks as well. Last but not least, you had the 155 8-inch howitzer. These are both going to be great at providing fire support. And then you have the 9mm GMC, which has great armor, great gun. It can be scary for the Axis as long as you can keep it towards the front and try to surprise them if best case scenario. Look at their infantry. They've got military police as well to spam out. The double jeeps, rifle squad's still there. They just have the engineer squad, which has bazookas and it can dig in the trenches and whatnot. Veteran rifle squads, pretty awesome here. 101st represent. They got the glider squads. They got some good firepower and higher health. And then the 101st engineers with flamethrowers. It's gonna be an expensive squad, but you got flamethrowers, so pretty awesome. And then you got one with a mobile 30 calibers and some bazookas. So these guys will be really good late tier, but they're really expensive, as you can see, 400 and 350. Overall, it gets a big power bump in the end, but it's only got that one unit that really stands out. The rest are kind of like you have to get them in the right place, right time, and can be on maps where you have to move around. It's not going to be very ideal to have this doctrine. So we're going to go ahead and put him just like his friend here is the Soviets. So we're putting him in the C tier where he belongs. Nothing special, nothing really that stands out about him. So that's where he belongs in C tier. All right, moving on. Next we have Irregular, which is freaking awesome. Love Irregulars US. You got this first Special Forces combo. This is going to come with bazookas and bars, and I believe it comes with an artillery signaler as well. But it's overall, this is an awesome unit. You can sneak around, do sneaky boy operations, and call an artillery, and be helping out a lot on the front lines and the back lines. You have your 7mm pack, which is a pretty good unit, but why use that when you have special forces and you 2 times red ball? Don't really see the point of using those. If you guys do, let me know in the comments. All right, then once of course you got your 250 and 500-pound bombs. These are gonna be great for detracting vehicles and taking them out. You got the Sherman E45. 75, I believe this is the jumbo. I could be wrong. Like I'm not entirely sure exactly what this one is, but comes in as well too, and then the 105 howitzer without the shield. Not bad, but nothing crazy in the second one. And like I said, these guys are awesome and pretty good special forces because they have the artillery signaler, but they're not going to give you immediate results in the form of a light vehicle. Then you have your 500-pound bomb that's going to nuke anything. See an elephant come in, blow off its track, blow it up. Good artillery support, and then you get your Calliope, which Calliope is really good, but nothing super crazy here. Still got military police, jeeps, 29 infantry division. Got these guys that can eventually get bazookas. They're really good. 82nd gliders, 200 manpower squad with flamethrowers, and then you got your 82nd regular gliders, and then what they upgrade to. You got veteran scout squad as well, and you got your bazooka squads and ones that come with 30 caliber squads, similar to the 101st. Overall, good infantry, good late tier infantry, and it's just got a good variance, and I think it stacks up as the best American doctrine. So let's see, Irregular, yeah, we're gonna put them up in A tier as well. As you can see, these 3 are the same around here. It's the same around here. Coincidence? I think not, but they definitely is the top performer for the Americans. And moving on to the offensive. This one's a pretty cool one, but it has some lacking abilities as well. So I'll show you where those can be. So the command car lets you get a little scout car, but it takes away CP. You have the artillery. This one has a actual AA gun mounted with two 50 calibers, so that's pretty awesome. Give you good fire support. And then you have your 75mm Scott. This thing has actually good heat rounds, can shoot over arcs, so it can be very effective on taking out enemy light vehicles, and really effective taking out enemy infantry. You put it behind a vehicle, behind a building, and you just shoot over it and kill it like a puma. Pretty awesome. You have your fucking Hellcat. This thing is fucking baller. I love this thing because it's so fast. 155mm artillery calling, and then your 76mm Sherman. This thing is pretty awesome. Decent armor, and it's got a good gun. So pretty solid tier 2, pretty solid tier 1. And then tier 3, you got your Super Pershing, got 155, and you got your 8-inch artillery. Now, this one's got a pretty solid lineup on the actual doctrinal part. The part where this one suffers is the infantry. So let's go ahead and take a gander over here. You have your armored recon team, and then you, which you probably won't want to get, but then you have armored rifle squads. This one costs 180. So big disadvantage of this doctrine is you're going to be behind on infantry. So that this one, these cost 180. You're going to be able to call them in, and then you have to wait either for this one, or you're going to have to wait, just send in a bunch of little detachments of infantry, which is probably what the Americans are going to have to do. Now, if you can get a foothold with this doctrine, then you can start getting the good stuff. Like they have infantry squads coming out in half shacks, a lot of half shacks with 50 caliber and 30 caliber support. And then you have these heavier squads, which a lot of them come with bazookas, and you have your ranger squads that come with the support weapons. So a lot of these squads are really good, but it's just getting that foothold in the beginning, especially 1 versus 1s and 2 versus 2s that you have coordinated teams. This command is really going to struggle. Once you get established, then you can get these call-ins, and the call-ins are actually really good. It's just the infantry is really lacking, because it's just American infantry is so expensive, and you can just get it outdone. So for offensive, we're going to go ahead and look. American offensive is going to be B tier because of infantry. It would be a lot higher, but the infantry is where it really struggles in the game. So if you guys want to see more stuff like this, you want to see mid tier, and you want to see mid war, and you want to see early war, then go ahead and subscribe, see more, and that way you can see more of my content. Moving on, let's get to Finland. All right, good old Finland. Good old Finland. All right, moving on to Finland, we have the first commander, which is all around. This thing is awesome. T-50 captured. Pretty much the same as the Soviets. Just got different bearings on the sides of it. You have the Landverk squad, which comes, Landverk anti-tank, which is pretty much a Vervelwind or Ostwind for the fucking Finland. This thing is awesome. It can take out light vehicles. It can take out infantry, so many infantry so quick, and it's a great vehicle for the first tier. And then you have your command squad. If you want to get that for some reason, get another. Yeah, you don't want that. You get the Landverk. The Landverk is fucking amazing. KV-1 1942 and this smaller howitzer artillery signaler kind of falls off. They're not bad choices, but nothing great. KV-1 can always be knocked out by this point in the war. You can always bring a Panzer IV long barrel and knock it out. But it can be good in the right situations. Then you have the JSU 152 captured ISU 152. This thing's always going to be a beast. Then the 120 howitzer is going to be good for taking out enemy positions, and if you have to use it for direct fire, it can kill tanks. But ISU 152 and Landverk make this doctrine stand out the most. Let's go ahead and look at the infantry. You have your reserve rifle squad, cheap. Scout section, cheap to get to positions quick. Then you have your normal rifle squad, an anti-tank squad, which is really nice, and some veteran and elite squads, and your Jaeger scout squad. So overall, it's got a good selection of everything. Nothing that like builds on itself, so nice and simple. It's got a lot of cheap infantry. Only one of them is over 200, so these are easy to spam, and you got some good support units, making all around a very, very good one for finish. So for Finland, the all around is actually going to be an A tier. This is a very good commander for Finland, and they don't have a lot of them, so they're going to have to take advantage of that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is going to be defensive. So defensive, Finland kind of stands out from this. They have their engineer squad, 40 millimeter Bofors that's captured, or Boffers, if I'm saying that right or wrong. And you have your heavy engineer. So the cool thing about the heavy engineer is you can build this awesome emplacement with a heavy gun. I believe it's, don't remember exact gun, but it's pretty similar to like a German 88. And the thing is fucking, if you can get up early, it can be a game changer and it can really help you in team games especially. But it once again is a defensive position. It takes a while to build, and you have to defend the position to be able to build it. Next, you have the 120 millimeter mortar. You have the Pack 40, and then you have a 122 short barrel. Pack 40 probably the best choice for this one, unless you need some fire support. And then you have a bunch of howitzers and then anti-tank them and two howitzers. Nothing that really stands out here. The main thing is this heavy engineer and being able to use those build those emplacements. They can be a hassle for enemies to deal with. Infantry is pretty similar to the last one, except you get border Jaeger squads and pioneer squads and engineer squad. So these guys can be really good on help you dig in once again, and then the heavy pioneer squads can really help you digging in as well with their engineers and their machine guns. And none of these are super expensive. 250 being the most expensive squad you have. Once again, spam infantry with Finland because you can't really rely on these. With Finland, let's see. Let's go ahead and move over to our thing. All right. So for Finland, all the other ones have been C tier. I'm going to say that they're B tier for their defensive just because of that placement. And the placement can really change things in team games. And if you get, they can really lock areas down, and it can make it hard for you to even push tanks. I mean, sure, you can nuke them with a plane, but they can easily get up a couple of them and make a defensive position, and it's going to be hard for you to push through. So I'm going to make that B tier for sure. Moving on. Irregular. So this one's cool. We got your cheap little snipers. You got your mining warfare, which this thing can be a beast actually. Coming out early can help you push up in the points, and then you have your CC commandos. These are all good support, and these ones can get into good positions. But like I said, with the other irregulars, really struggles. Has a big power boost. So that first power bump that they get with the light vehicle, you're gonna be getting pushed off a little bit. Unless you manage to immediately kill it with one of these commandos, which would be pretty cool. KV-1E, nothing special there. The 75 K44 prototype is actually pretty awesome at taking out tanks. Pretty effective anti-tank units. And then you have just your light drop, bomb drop that you can kill probably light medium vehicles with, and then the heavier one you can kill heavier detract vehicles. And then you have your howitzer and your Nebelwerfer. So nothing special about the here a little bit. This experimental pack is really good for killing tanks, but there's nothing too crazy. You got your sneaky infantry, you got your basic rifle squad, anti-tank squad, cavalry, cheap Finnish infantry, and you have your veteran Jaeger squad actually. It's pretty good. Like it's not bad, but it's like at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's really that great for team games. I know a lot of people think this would be an S tier. This should be an S tier for 1 versus 1, but I'm actually putting this in the C tier because it's just lacking so much when you're helping out your teammates throughout the game, and you don't have anything that can really challenge the Soviet armor or anything. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Lend-Lease, last but not least, is good old Lend-Lease. So Lend-Lease comes with a Panzer Nest. This thing can be a pain in the ass to kill. It takes a little while to set up. Pack 38, and then a 100mm mortar. These are all decent, but these are all heavy defensive things, of course. Moving on to Searchlight. Can help you spot through fog of war. Pretty cool. Panzer IV-J, which is like at the hand crank on the turret, which kind of sucks. The 105 German howitzer. 150 German howitzer. 150 Nebelwerfer. And then you got your good old French capture tank, but this one has the fucking Nebelwerfer on the side of it. Pretty interesting little unit, but like nothing in this really stands out to me as like there's no power spike. Panzer IV-J, it's okay. And you got these fine artillery points, but like nothing really to help them out. Infantry wise, Pretty much the same thing. You got good infantry. You got a Jaeger AT squad, which is pretty cool, but it costs 350. Like I don't know. You got a marksman rifle squad, which is pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. But at the same time, it's like this one seems to be lacking the most. Like pushing. Like doesn't have anything that can push. Doesn't have fancy commandos. Doesn't have a heavy engine that stands out. Doesn't have a Landberg. Honestly, I think this is the worst commander that they have because nothing really stands out in any of the three doctrine call-ins. They're all good. Panzerwerfer can be a bitch to kill, but like overall, Lend-Lease for the finish, I'm gonna say it's gonna actually be a D tier. It's not gonna be very good, and we're just gonna put it in D tier. If you guys want to check out how I'm making this, like with looking at these doctrines and stuff, make sure you join my link for my server, we have a PvP server, which is really awesome. Join queues and have games, get on the leaderboard. Pretty cool stuff. But let's move on to the Germans. Last but not least, you don't want to miss the Germans. So late war, we're going to start off with all round. So as you can see here, we got the Volksgrenadiers. We got the Puma with the 2 centimeter, and we got the Puma with the 50 millimeter barrel. So these Pumas are fucking awesome because they're so mobile. That's what the big thing that stands out about them. Volksgrenadiers, I'd usually avoid these. I mean, they come with a half track, but still, it's like these two just seem to be better. And the Puma, with the 50 millimeters, basically gonna be able to kill any light vehicle it encounters and any medium, and it's just so mobile that you can just hop around. It's great for flanking. You get some scouts that identify there's an enemy flank open. You can easily sneak in there, pop a side shot, shoot a side shot into the T-34, and just blow up a T-34 and get the fuck out. It's a great raiding unit. Next we have this heavier mortar, Jagdpanzer IV, great anti-tank unit and artillery signaler. Heavy artillery, Jagdpanther, great anti-tank unit, and then you have your Stuka Zu Fuss, which is great at fire support for late game. Moving into the infantry, you have your cheap-ass filler squad. You have your Volksgrenadier squad, which is a pretty good squad. Volkssturm, which comes with SDGs and MP40s. Volksgrenadiers heavy squad, come with multiple machine guns and SCGs. And Fusilier SMGs, Jaeger squads, and I'm not even try to pronounce that. Gerbing's Jaeger squads. Yeah, these guys are elite scouts. So you've got a lot of great infantry in this, and you got a decent options on all these call-ins as well. So this is actually a really good commander. So the long range infantry is actually lacking. Is the only thing I'd say you're lacking. This one's great for urban maps. It seems like long range infantry is a little bit lacking. So that's the only thing that's going to be really holding you back. But for all round, I'm putting this one up in the A tier. This is a great commander, and its only weakness is really its lack of ranged infantry. I mean, you still have your rifle squad, Volksgrenadier squad for that, but it's nothing super powerful. In the end, you just have scout squads, which are gonna be a little bit weaker, but great for flanking. So overall, good doctrine. Moving on to the German defensive one, you come and get the Goliath with the Ketten, comes with engineers. Get the 37mm flak, and then this League, I believe. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but they're all decent, but nothing crazy for the first one. It's pretty cool. You can get a tactical nuke in, sneak it in, and blow up the enemy positions or a light vehicle, but nothing crazy in the first one. Second one, you get Jagdpanzer IV and the 88. Get set up. Jagdpanzer IV is probably going to be superior because it's mobile, and it can take out pretty much any allied vehicle until you really start struggling with the super heavy tanks. But generally, this is going to be a good choice for this second one. And then you have your Ferdinand, which is going to be able to kill any allied tank at 220 millimeters or 220 meters away. And you get your heavy artillery. Really good choices. It shines over the other defensive doctrines because it has a Jagdpanzer IV here on. Most of them just have a good tank killer in the end. This one has one in the middle, so that's going to give it a boost for sure. Awesome thing about this one is it comes with Volkssturm squads, which are super cheap at first, and they come with Panzerfaust, so they can kill tanks. You have your Kriegsmarine, another cheap infantry. Easily start with 2 cheap infantry and then just spam out what you need. You have your basic Grenadier squad as well, which also gives you a nice baseline. Panzer Grenadiers, which are semi-automatic rifles, um, come with anti-tank eventually, and then Pioneer squads, great for up close and taking out tanks. And your Fusilier and elite infantry. You have your actual volunteers from Spain here as well. So overall, you got a good variety, got good cheap infantry, and you can kill tanks with your infantry, which is pretty awesome to have that ability with Panzerfaust within your squad. So defensive. This defensive actually is I'm gonna put in B tier because this one stands up with the infantry and with the Jagdpanzer 4 above. So both these defensive or above their defensive. Moving on to Irregular. Gotta love Irregular. So this one comes with your Panzer 1 Os F up armor Panzer 1. Don't see why anybody would ever get this, but looks cool and it's got heavier armor. Next you have your Brandenburgers, sneaky boys. Everybody's gonna want to say these are S tier because these guys just for 1v1s. But oddly enough, I usually see the Panzer 3 flamethrower used against me more. I think it's because Brandenburgers are more safe and good for sneaking around, but Panzer 3 flamethrower gives you immediate boost, and you can easily flank enemies and take out their tons of infantry if you get in the right spot, and even enemy tanks if you manage to get behind them. You have a bombing run. You have Panzer IV Os J, which has a hand crank, which is annoying, and you have the SIG, which is amazing anti-infantry and can kill tanks too. BF 1 and 10, dropping the bigger bomb, killing any detract tanks. You have your Tiger Ace, and then you have your pretty immobile nuke, Nebelwerfer, which is pretty cool. But overall, good options at the beginning. Decent options in the middle, that they're a little immobile, and just the Panzer IV is Panzer IV, and then good options at the end with the veteran Tiger Ace. You have your Fusilier squads, which is like another cheap infantry, but at least it has a shitty machine gun with it. You have your scouts. These guys can be really good for getting MG34 into a good position before everybody gets there. Jaeger squads coming out as well, not as expensive as most German squads. They're pretty cool to have those. Pioneer squads. It's nice. Got a mix of everything. You got Fallschirmjägers and Pioneers at the end, so it can be really good for later on. So this one's going to be, we're going to put this one, this one's actually going to be A tier up here with all round. So A tier for that one. A lot of people think it's S tier, but I think just for considering everything, it's going to be simply A tier. Moving on to offensive, we have your Observer half track, which has a commander in it. You have Panzer 2 Os L, nothing too special. Flak Panzer 38, which I believe has 37mm in it. It's unit's actually pretty awesome. I saw it when I first started playing the game, I didn't think anything special, but this unit actually dominates. Had it kill my T60 before. It's a really good unit. Next you have a Stug that comes with an infantry, or you have the Brumbar or the Wesp. These are all good options. Brumbar probably being the most chosen one. It's got thick armor and it can decimate enemy infantry. Lastly, you have a Panther, Sturm Tiger, which is a nuke wagon, and a Tiger 2. All good options. Probably Tiger 2 and nuke wagon being used the most. But all good options around here. It's like got a good one here, you got a couple good ones here, a couple good ones here. So like decent amount of options. Moving on to offensive infantry. Once again, MG34 on the point really quick. Panzer Grenadiers could be nice. You got your MP44s, which is really nice for close range, and you got your Panzer Pioneers with flamethrowers. Some good tier 3 infantry, some veteran infantry, and you got Fallschirmjägers as well. So this one's really good. Another great doctrine. I'd say this one belongs offensive. I would say belongs in A tier as well. A lot of the German doctrines simply outshine the Allied doctrines, in my opinion. Just the German ones are really good. The Finnish is okay, but the Germans really shine well. Next, we're going to move into the support from Scorched Earth DLC. You have your supply officer, once again, just like the Soviet one. Nothing really special there. Then you got your Vorwin, your Ostwind, and your Puma. So the Vorwin will come out first. You call it again, you get the Ostwind, and then you have the Puma as well. These are all really awesome. Vorwin is actually up armored, so it'll survive better versus lighter vehicles. Still can get killed by a T-70, so be careful. But this thing shreds. It's armored and it shreds infantry like super crazy fast. It's awesome. Can kill light vehicles as well. If you're struggling with light vehicles, you can get the Puma, which has heat rounds, which can nuke pretty much any tank. It's, if it gets close enough. Next, you have the recon. You can have the recon planes. You can have the 70 long 75. Then you have the grill, which is this thing that really stands out. Mobile indirect. I see this thing all the time. It's awesome unit. You have your pack 88, pack 43, heavy artillery. You have the fucking railroad artillery. You can launch nukes across the map. And then of course you have the infamous Yag Tiger, which is pretty awesome. Infantry-wise, you have the filler, light infantry. You have MG-34 that can get to places it needs to be. You have a Grenadier squad, your basic infantry. You have MP-44s that can get pretty much great dominance in urban areas. Sturm Grenadiers with MG-34 and MP-44s. Flamethrowers, and elite infantry as well. I think this one really has like everything you really need. The only thing I'd say it's lacking is anti-tank infantry. But these options are really great for like you can counter anything. You can counter infantry, heavy infantry push, counter light vehicles. Once again, counter infantry and have great fire support, and then have end game killer just to kill tanks. I honestly believe that support for the Germans is going to be S tier as well. These supports are just freaking amazing. You guys might not agree with this one, but I just think they belong up there, and they perform. This doctrine just performs really, really well, especially in the right hands. Last but not least, we have the all-round West. And before we get into the all-round West, I just want you guys to know there's going to be upcoming events. It's going to be a multiplayer campaign, so just be looking at my rank server for that, because there's a multiplayer campaign. It's going to be every single map or most maps in the game is going to be represented on Europe in a campaign, and it's all going to be PvP, so check out for that. Moving on to all around West, we have the good old, we have a 37mm mounted up here, we have 2 flamethrowers, and we have the drilling, which has 3 cannons up there. This thing's a fucking beast. It's like the American one, and it just shoots a little bit faster, or a lot bit faster, and the thing just shreds infantry. These things are amazing. If your opponent makes the wrong mistake in the doctrine, and then you can obliterate the enemy with this, and like in no time. You can get a couple of these even, and they'll be amazing. Only thing that's really lacks is enemy gets a T70, you're kind of fucked here. Unless you can get some good cheeky shots at 37mm, but with drilling, you're gonna have to play a lot more defensively, which really sucks for that unit. Coming on the second one, you have a mobile pack 40 artillery signaler, and then moving on to 3, you're gonna have the Nashorn, Tiger 2, Panzerwerfer, and Hummel. These 2 being awesome. This one can snipe enemy tanks from far away, and the Tiger 2 is always just going to be a great unit. And you get fire support options as well. So it's all around West has got some good options, just very vulnerable early on to enemy vehicles. You got your filler squad, grenadier squad. You've got the cool thing about these is the late tier squads. They have come with half tracks, a lot more MP-44s great for fighting the Americans, because you can get fire support with your MP-44s. They usually have fire superiority with their M1 Grands, but MP-44s will beat M1 Grands, so at least medium close range. So this one's overall pretty good, not a bad option. This is the only one we can take this one up over here. We're gonna put it in the B tier though, because it has the lacking options early game, and those drillings can really get shut out if enemy gets T70 or a Scott, something like that. And then you have to your whole unit has to play defensively, and kind of shuts you down. But when you are unparalleled and like you can get out there and use it, it's gonna be fucking awesome. But I hope you guys liked this tier list. Go ahead and leave a like, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more, and go ahead and check out my tips video after this, and I'll see you guys later.